Hey everybody, David the AI Guide here. Welcome back, and today we're doing session 2 of the TED AI conference just this week. Mind-blowing. Session 2 was on synthesis and reality. So the big overall theme of this was something that I didn't expect. I'll talk about that shortly. So the first speaker in session 2 was Cathie Wood. She is a VC in AI. She said in the 1900s, 3 huge platforms emerged that changed the world. What were they? The telephone, electricity, and automobiles. So those are 3 separate platforms that changed the whole world, and that is clearly true, isn't it? Now, she said, there are 5 new platforms that will change the world completely starting right now. The first is obviously AI. The second is robotics. We've talked about conversions of exponential technology many times, specifically AI and robotics. Energy storage. So that's batteries and using AI to manage the grid. Blockchains, a new way of computing, and multinomic sequencing, which I'm still a little fuzzy on. I'd never heard that term before. So check this out. As a VC, she's a financial person. This will blow your mind. AI costs are dropping by 70% per year. 2 years has now been reduced to 6 months in terms of development. So get ready to have your friggin' mind blown. The numbers that I'm about to talk about are so big, they're difficult to grasp. She said AI is going to drive explosive growth, the biggest impact financially on the world in ever by far. Let's frame that. She said in 5 to 10 years, the revenue from AI will be $8 to $10 trillion. Trillion. That means it's bigger than any economy in the world today. The revenue from AI only. GDP growth will accelerate past the long-term run rate of 2 to 3% a year that we've been experiencing. It will be 3 to 5 times what it is right now based on a massive improvement in productivity. Think robotics. Real GDP growth will be in the 6 to 9% range going forward as this unfolds. Productivity increases equal higher profit, higher wages, and everything getting cheaper, which economists call deflation. She said the inflation we just went through was due to a major supply chain shock. We know all about that, about the ships lined up off of LA Harbor and stuff like that. She said that when you think about these 5 platform disruptive technologies, they're valued at $13 trillion today. By 2030, only 7 years from now, they'll be valued at $200 trillion. So what she is saying is you want to be invested in this revolution. 40% compound annual growth rate, which is almost unheard of. Disruptive tech will lead to creative destruction, meaning getting rid of a lot of the stuff you see in the world. This is why I started the AI Guide, to prepare you, to get you ready for what's coming. It is a tsunami. It's a tidal wave. It's going to swamp all of us. She actually thought NFTs were going to eventually be a big, big deal. So that was Cathie Wood. So the next speaker was Rajiv Ranaki, who is the CEO of Lyric, a major AI company. And Lyric focuses on healthcare, and his talk was on AI and healthcare. So he said, right now they're scaling AI in healthcare. He said, the focus is on data, meaning high quality data, that the AI is ethical, and that the AI is not biased in any way in healthcare, meaning it helps take care of marginalized communities as well as mainstream communities. He said this AI will be purpose-driven, and it's AI for everyone. He said, we're not looking for a moonshot. We're looking for singles and doubles to move AI forward in healthcare, a single or a double at a time. He said that for AI to work, it needs the correct operating model, that you can't just drop it into a company and it works. You have to change the way the healthcare entity operates so that it can really leverage AI. And he said that in healthcare, this is really about an AI platform that covers everything. So it's not a single point solution like reads X-rays or folds proteins. It's a general AI tool that covers the whole healthcare entity. He said what they need in healthcare and what they're moving toward is predictive medicine, meaning helping people before they get sick, proactive, again, before they get sick, and personalized to the individual person because we all have different genes. So that was crazy stuff. So next we get to what I said at the very beginning of this video was the mind-blowing piece. The next speaker was actually a PhD student in computer science at Stanford University right now, Junsung Park. They are working on developing autonomous generic agents. What does that mean? Jarvis from Iron Man, that's what it means. He said these will be a combination of behavioral models, social robots, and VR. He said they are simulating human behavior using these tools to develop autonomous agents that can act in the world. Right now, they've developed a game using these generative agents in a virtual town called Smallville. So they've created these fully autonomous agents that are going around living a life in this game environment. He said they've gotten to the point where a simple prompt creates an agent that simulates a live person. In Smallville, you can interact with them or change their memories. They've used generative AI to encode behavior from social media. And he said that as these continue to develop, these generative agents will help us understand ourselves better. And he specifically mentioned the Pi app, which we'll talk more about later. So next up, mind-blowing speaker Jim Fan on gaming and these autonomous agents. Also, Jim Fan, who happens to be a senior person at NVIDIA. So what he said NVIDIA is working towards is they want Star Wars robots that can do anything. They have skills, they have body form, and they're real and operate in the real world. He said to accomplish this, they started out using Minecraft, where there's 140 million active players. This is twice the population of the United Kingdom, he said. Stunning. So they've created an agent called Voyager that operates inside of Minecraft. Voyager uses code snippets to build skills to do things in Minecraft. He said the agent gets feedback, so it's self-reflective, meaning self-learning. And the agent saves what it's working on to a memory library that has all its skills in it. So this thing is acquiring skills over time and remembering all of them. That's autonomous agent. The goal is lifelong learning to obtain as many unique skills as possible. That's the only instruction they gave this thing. And it's learning everything. So he said what they're looking for is called a metamorph. It's a multi-domain learning agent, meaning it can operate in any environment. It has a body and it operates in reality. So he said that this foundation agent operates like ChatGPT does. It's an embodiment, a physical embodiment, plus a task equals action. So right now in a game environment, but coming to the real world, courtesy of NVIDIA. So next up, session 2, Liv Boer, who is a physicist, a world poker champion, and working on effective altruism. She had amazing stage presence, I have to say. So she talked a lot about competition because she's a world champion poker player. She said competition can be positive or negative. And then she talked about deep fakes, right? She said these deep fakes are harmful competition because they create a false image of yourself and you're trying to compete with something that isn't real. She also talked about the media, how the media has just degenerated into a complete race to the bottom, the worst, featuring clickbait. She said these kinds of things are bad for all involved. She said it's like polluters. They're in a death spiral, emphasizing short-term profits over responsibility. She said things are going this way because the incentives are bad. The cost is deferred to the next generation or the generation after instead of right now. This is the exact thing driving the rush to AGI. And then she talked about game theory, which is an explanatory model of how things work, specific things. She said that all this stuff has gotten lost in winning. Basically, winning isn't everything. Sometimes it's just the competition itself, and the incentives are misaligned. And then she talked about something called a Moloch trap. She said that's where AI is now. Everyone is jumping in. Boy, isn't that the truth. You must keep up or lose. It's a flat-out race driven by a short-term demand as a response to investors. So keep in mind, all these startups are losing money. They're funded by investors. The investors are in the driver's seat, or the company goes out of business, and 90% of startups go out of business anyway. 90%, only 10% survive. She talked about successful models that have been used in the world. One of them is the START Treaty, which significantly reduced the number of nuclear weapons in the world, and the other was the Montreal Accord on CFCs, which has stopped the destruction of the ozone layer that would have destroyed us, by the way. She said the big three, Anthropic, OpenAI, and DeepMind, need to invest in safety just as they invest for revenue. She said, take competition lightly, not heavily, not as the main focus. But she said this is the way the game has been set up. So change the game. Don't hate the players. Hate the game. Change the game to something better. So this was a common theme, that this concentration of technology into a few companies is not good. That needs to be changed. And the whole incentives behind AI development need to be changed. Very common theme from almost all speakers through the whole event. Okay, so next up, a guy named Richard Soer, who's an investor and has over 150,000 scientific citations. 150,000. Obviously brilliant. He said in 2010, NLP and neural nets were starting to come of age. Very small niche then. Then in 2018, they held an NLP decathlon, Salesforce research, get NLP to do these 10 things. And that was a huge breakthrough. Only 2018, we're talking 5 years, people. Then in 2019, OpenAI's invention of prompt engineering large language models. So this guy said AI right now is in a dual state, stuck between electricity and AGI. Electricity being a task and AGI being general. So AI is in that middle state right now, which is stunning to say because even a couple of years ago, you couldn't say that. So he talks about one of his company back in 2020 with Brian McCann, who's another top AI guy. They started a new search startup called U.com, gave access to the internet and used citations. It's an LMM, it responds to text, graphs, and more. It can write code and can now answer complex questions, U.com. He said we need to keep models open source and available because models will mirror their creators, but the improvement of a specific technology like LLM caps out after a while. Then comes the next thing. So check out U.com. So next was a very interesting woman, an associate professor at USC, working in AI and social impact. And that's what she spoke about, AI and social problems. She said AI risks increasing equality. There's a lot of talk about this on the internet. We need to support the marginalized and the down and out. She gave an example. Homeless in LA. They have 28,600 beds for homeless people in LA. However, at the moment, there's 75,518 homeless people in LA. So to put that in perspective, there's more homeless people in LA than 80% of all communities in America. That's how many homeless people we're talking about. Because 80% of communities in America have fewer than 100,000 residents. She said at its best, AI is efficient, fair, and transparent, and we need to define AI in those terms. So she was asked to work on a model to help decide who got housing. And what they were targeting was statistical parity, meaning ignoring everything else, age, gender, race, etc., make it even for everyone to have a chance to get housing. And then further, she showed a bunch of charts that right now that white people far and away are the only people to be able to escape homelessness and get back into society. Far, far less for blacks, Hispanics, single women. So another thing they were trying to do with this model was statistical parity in outcome, meaning whatever your demographics are, you have an equal chance of becoming not homeless. So they built an AI that helped more people get housing. They were able to increase the utilization of these beds and had far more equitable outcomes, helping the vulnerable and marginalized. And this is a great example of how AI can work positively. And I've got a couple of super examples of that after we do the TED Roundup. So, final speaker, session 2, Eric Topal, who is a professor at the Scripps Research Institute, which, by the way, is one of the finest graduate schools in the world, Scripps. He was talking about the things that they're working on. He said, they're working on proteins. AlphaFold allowed prediction of protein folding, which drives drug development, in minutes instead of days or weeks. And AlphaFold is a transformer model. This is a huge breakthrough with AI, he says, and healthcare. Now check this out. He said, there are 12,000 diagnostic medical errors a year, meaning the person is diagnosed with the wrong illness. 12,000. He said in the first 5 minutes of a visit, the accuracy of diagnosis is 95%, but immediately thereafter, it's only 25%. So if the doctor doesn't figure out what's wrong with you in the first 5 minutes, most likely you're going to be misdiagnosed or they can't tell you what's wrong with you. So he said they're working on, can we get to high accuracy and high speed? So they're using deep convolutional neural networks, DCNN, as well as, or better, on scans than people. Computer vision can pick up things that humans simply can't see. This one blew my eye. So they figured out at Scripps that a retina scan can give an instant diagnosis for 8 serious illnesses that humans could see none of them. Stunning. This is what's coming thanks to AI on the good side. This is regardless of age and sex, although it can tell you from the retina what age and sex somebody is. He said this transformer model like AlphaFold is far beyond the convolutional deep neural network and represents a new breakthrough. Now here's what he said is coming: keyboard liberation. None of us are going to have to type soon. It'll all be done verbally, no typing. He said they're building a retinal model that will be able to diagnose 1.6 million diseases from a retina scan. Stunning, absolutely stunning. He said ChatGPT is now diagnosing a lot of stuff that doctors missed. He gave an example of the 6-year-old kid who had been to 17 different doctors, and none of them could figure out what was wrong with the kid, and the kid was getting worse and worse and worse and was going to die. And then the mom typed in his symptoms into ChatGPT. ChatGPT nailed it, and the kid is healed. Amazing. The future of medicine will be everything summed up, diagnosed, and 100% correct. So that's session 2, mind-blowing stuff. By now, we're only at about 3 p.m. on Tuesday, and all this stuff has been discussed. It's crazy. So next week, we'll do sessions 3 and 4 because these videos are so long. And the week after, we'll do TED Day 2 and the other AI conference I went to, Applied AI. Thanks so much. Take care. Please like, subscribe, and share. We're 25 from 1,000. Please subscribe. Thank you. Bye.